Welcome to Breaking Through the Contradictions. The goal here is to review some of the common contradictions we have lived and have had various conversations about and how it impacts various areas of a child's growth. We invited different parents, business owners, and friends to have a candid conversation on how some of the contradictions we live contribute and or creates larger barriers to supporting our youth. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, speakers, and participants in this context are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the organizers, hosts, or any affiliated individuals or organizations. We encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives, but the individual viewpoints shared during this discussion are personal and should not be attributed to any collective entity involved. Woohoo! We made it.
Yes, we did. Hi, Tabitha.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I think I'm tired. I don't know. It's interesting because I think, no, it's not. I think you and I have been hanging tough all week because it's
Yes, we
back
have.
to school, right? Back to school week. So, I mean, so we've been talking about back to school things all week long and getting prepared. Some parents prepared or, different things going on. So I think I'm ready to kind of just settle down. Last week was a little harder. I had such a massive headache. I couldn't even open my eyes
Yes.
to even sit and do this last week. So we did
Yes.
nothing, but that's all good. How about you?
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. And we've seen each other now the third time. So it's great to see you again. Heading back to school, this is my 6th day of school. And I always say there is no tired like teacher tired at the beginning of the year. So every day last week, I fell asleep every day after school. So I have nixed my naps this week. So I'm starting to get the hang of it. And I even saw my Tuesday night and went to a ball game. So I'm starting to get my stamina back and getting used to things, but it does take a little bit as you get back to school.
Yeah, I know. And you got the littles.
I got the
So the
little.
littles they beat them littles. Man, they are little, but they are mighty. I have to,
Yes, they are.
that's how I look at it.
Sometimes it's like hurting little kittens at the beginning of the school year. So yes,
Man, that's really bad. Herding kittens. Now
that's about
cats
what
are
it's
hard
like.
enough. Like kittens are that now that's a whole entire ball of wax.
Yes, it
So
is. At the beginning of the year, it gets better, but at the beginning of the year, it's very much like that.
this is this is interesting. That's funny. So I never really thought about it. So it's all good. But whatever that works out. It's all
Yep.
cool. Oh, we got our friend back, Kristen. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Kristen, hey lady, how are you? We're gonna get you on the show. You're gonna come over here and talk to us, my friend. So Christine.
Yes. Well, that's going to be challenging for you.
I know. I like last couple weeks ago. I kept calling you the wrong name. I was calling you her name. I was calling her your name. I was like, you know what? The K and the C. I'm like, whatever working. So it's all interesting. Okay, so what is our contradiction for today?
The contradiction for the day is respect each other's differences, but we do not do it when we are upset.
Yes. This is a big one, right?
Yes.
Because we're always saying that you have to respect each other, the humane side of everything. You need to be respectful of your elders. You need to be respectful of your team members. You just need to be respectful. But as soon as we get upset, beside ourselves, or aggravated, we start to poke and point out everything that's different between the me. I can own that for me and that person across from me that I'm so angry with, right? And I think that so they emulate those things and then they're confused by that specifically. So what are your thoughts? I'm kind of curious.
So that's interesting. So when I think of it, I'm going to look at it through like a classroom lens. So we tell the students to be respectful of each other. Sometimes there's miscommunication. Sometimes there's actual like where children are pushing each other or something like that. Um, then when that happens, they're no longer respectful. They start to bicker with one another and that kind of thing. Then it starts to escalate. Sometimes other children will jump in. So um, it can splinter up a whole class very quickly. So as a teacher, it is important that you catch it right from the onset and figure out the cause of it. So that is another way. Bullying, that's another way to do bully prevention, because as soon as something happens, you don't wait for it to like explode. You have to catch it right away. So that's one of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking about this contradiction with the respect, and then how we get upset and we start poking at each other.
Right. And I think that it's like naturally siblings will naturally pick and poke and prod and just push you. I'm telling you, I swear, I think kids go through orientation prior to entering into the world. I think that they go into an orientation of some kind and they say, okay, this is exactly what I want from you. And this is what your job is to do. Right. And, but your siblings help to groom and put you in place and change your perspective. Right. This world is not all about you. There are others that have to share this space, this
Hmm.
place and space, things like that. And so the siblings doing that. But when you go outside of that, I mean, have you noticed in the classroom how some of the behaviors you can kind of tell whether or not the parents are emulating behaviors that are not equivalent to what you're working to teach them in a classroom?
So I would say some, because I teach the very little. So some of it is just understanding the classroom routine and understanding how everything works. So if they don't go to preschool, that's a disadvantage because they don't know how the norms work and how a classroom works and how to be respectful of others, what does personal space look like and that kind of thing. So at my age it's hard to tell. But with the older children, you can really, you can start to see it. Some as the children start to learn their rules and that kind of thing, you start to see some more of home norms creeping in, like like it's okay to hit, but at our school, they're not allowed to hit, those kinds of things. So
Mhm.
those things start to creep in. um
That's
you
a good
start
one.
to
We might
hear
might want
children
to do that.
swearing and that kind of thing, so you know that they heard it at home, so those things start to
I think
you know
that's a good one. We should think about that one. See what that may turn out to be because it's so. Yes, I'm gonna put a pin in that one because
okay.
it's defend yourself, but you know, use your words and not what all the other
Mhm.
stuff. So
Right.
anyway, for this one, what I find is that okay, so this is the example that I'm giving today. So we're supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be respectful of other people. We're supposed to welcome the differences that each of us have, right? We have so much more in common than we will ever have different. And so we teach our children that. So when kids come out, I always like seeing that little video where the two little people, your littles, are running towards each other and just wanting to love it on each other. And they don't see that to them there is no difference. It's
Correct.
how you make me feel. I feel alive when I'm with you, or I love seeing you. You make me want to smile. You make me want to
Right.
be a better person. But then when they get angry, you got six toes and you got a horn growing out your head, and then it becomes, well, wait a second, why? I mean, my differences is what you love about me on some cases, but then you point them out later on. So this is how this kind of transpires. So this is how it actually manifests in something else. So I was actually seeing a video yesterday, and the little boy, he was his seventh birthday, right? Girl made me almost cry. I was like,
Uh-huh.
and look, and I am a feely person. I do have a heart, but it made me it really hurt my feelings because this 7-year old apparently they had moved to another area, and he was in school, and he was having his 7th birthday. And he was so excited. He was planning his birthday. He planned it all. I mean, helped his mom plan the birthday, put together the things, put down all the invitations, and passed them out to every single one of his classmates. So what's that
That's really
number?
sweet. That
Because
is
he didn't,
really thoughtful. He didn't
real
have to
doesn't
do that, did he? So he was
exactly
being very inclusive, wasn't he? And he was inviting everybody in, and he was being respectful to everybody so they wouldn't feel left out.
right. Okay, great. So now we're there.
Yes.
And then the day of the party comes, and he makes gift bags for every single one of the people he handed it to. But every day after he handed out those invitations, he actually will come home and says, has anybody called to say they're coming? Has anyone called? They say they're coming, right? No one ever called. So that day, like I said, he got up and he made all the little gift bags. He helped set up the park. They went all over in the park, cupcakes, juice, whatever, all this stuff. And he sat and waited. An hour went past.
Oh.
No one showed up. No one
No
showed up.
one?
No one showed up.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm like, seriously? And so he is like crushed. He's broken, right? That's just
Mhm.
not what the heck just happened.
Right.
And like as a mom, we're like, oh my gosh, we really want to support we really want to support our children. We never want to make them feel like we don't see them and that they don't count. So mom went out and she sent a message on Facebook and says, hey, my son's 7th birthday is today. And we're sitting at the park and no one has showed up. So if anybody's in the area, we have cupcakes, no gifts needed. Just come swing by and say hello. Right.
So what happened?
Girl. Now this is why I
Did
said
anybody
start
show
make
up?
me cry. So many strangers showed up, even teenagers took
Oh,
time
wow.
out of their day. They seen the post. The
Mhm.
police showed up. The firemen showed up. A lot of different groups showed up, including other kids in the area, to say to say happy birthday. Had cake, had fun, had a good time. He took lots of pictures. He was so excited. So she was able to find a way through that, right? And
Right.
and so now he's walking around saying, he was like saying, this was the best birthday ever, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at that situation and my heart broke because I was like, I've been there before with mine. And that is some, first of all, hats off to the mom, right? Because
Right.
she was able to figure out how to kind of help. And thank you to every single one of them strangers to took time out of their day to just say, to make somebody smile. They didn't have to do that.
Right.
But
And they
now,
were building a community too.
right?
So where one community failed, another community stepped up to surround the boy.
Yes.
And then you
That's what I'm talking about, Kristen,
yeah,
because that stuff, that was like, look, I'm sitting there like this, and I was like, please don't
yeah.
tell me. And it's hurtful.
Right,
But
it is.
that's coming from somebody. Okay, so that's parents.
Yes, because they should have called.
That's parents. Don't do
Yes.
that. That
Yeah.
is so so here's what's happening. So you look at this situation and I say, okay, so let me own it as my own. I say, okay, you've decided to invite 25. We're just going to I'm thinking it's about 25.
Yeah.
25 children, 25 children to a park. I am the parent. I pay for all the cupcakes, all the juice. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just asking you to come and share this day with him.
Right.
Yes. And you don't have to do it. If you don't have the money, it doesn't matter. We just want to come have a good time. Yes. But now you left him with such a bad impression of his classroom. Now
That's what I
what's
was
that
gonna
going
get
to do?
at. See, that's what I wanted to talk about, Tabitha. So you're talking about from the parent point of view. So I was taking a look from it from the child lens too. So what happens, let's say it would play out very differently. Nobody comes to his party. And so he's taught to be respectful of others and their differences and all of that. Nobody shows up. So he goes to school. What kind of lens is he going to be going to school with? He's going to be going to school with the lens that respect is now broken all apart, and now he's upset and he is going to be attacking. So instead of feeling that community spirit, he's going to be saying, oh, look at so and so's shoes, they're look at those, they're funny looking, look at so and so's nose or hair, they have a. And so all of this surface stuff it's festering, and that's how things get broken up in the community. So,
Yes.
and that's what we have to really, really watch for. Um, and I wonder about this with the little boy. So a community started to come together for him. So what would happen if that community never supported him? What would that have looked like? Even just like not even short term, but even long term, because some of these kinds of things have long term effects. Had the mother not been forward thinking, he would have been left high and dry with a broken heart. What do you think,
Right.
Tabitha?
And I think the same thing. I think that part of it is that I think he's such a sweet person, because even though after that he was like, "This is the best party ever," he's been talking about it ever since, right? So they were able to get him to see. Maybe we make all kinds of reasons why this doesn't happen, but my hope and prayer for this is that he does not allow that to define how he continues to engage with others, as Mike Ashburner would say,
Yeah.
use your kindergarten skills, right? So,
Right.
and that's the thing about it all is I'm very hopeful that he will just be like, maybe I just wasn't their cup of tea, but that's okay, because I got a better cup of tea out of the whole entire thing. He got pictures
Right.
with firemen, picture with policemen, and now he understands. And now he'll have discernment when saying, okay, am I going to have another party? And am I going to have another party? Am I going to do this with them? Am I going to be more discerning when I invite people? Because I didn't see, for him, he didn't see anything different. And here's the
Mhm.
sad part about all of that. If that's not bad enough, he was new to the area. So you automatically
Yeah.
excluded him because he was different from what you were normally used to seeing. And that's on us. That's on the adults.
So I also have parents that will be exclusive already. So they will pass out, they'll give me just like 6 notes. Sometimes the parents don't even tell me. I get these 6 notes, I'm like, "Oh gosh, I don't have enough for the whole class."
Right.
So I have to pull the other children off to the side, because we could start to get the same thing, respect each other's differences, but then they're going to get upset. So, and everybody in our classroom is a community. So when we start to splinter it, I have to tell them, you can't tell other people, because how is that going to make them feel? So I tell them that they can't be publicizing that, because some of their friends that they actually hang around with never even received an invite. So we just have to be very careful as parents in both instances to make sure that we're building a community for our children, and not excluding, like, oh, you're not going to get an invite, you're going to get an invite now. So that kind of thing, because there's only a finite amount, and so they use it as leverage if they don't get their way.
Right. But I also think that part of this, and the reason why it's a party thing, because I think that this happens way often, more often than what people even realize. Okay. You're not the only parent out there who are excluding other people because they're different. Right. Because I think we've had this conversation before about this, how the kids will be like, well, I only want to invite three out of 7 kids. Well, why don't you want to invite the others? Well, I don't like them, and they smell funny, and they look different, and they don't have all the nicest clothes. Well, guess what's going to happen? First of all, this stuff festers and makes it worse over time, and now you're pointing out the differences. How about you point out all the things that you have in common, and realize that maybe there's a reason why we don't always get along with some people. Like
Mhm.
we're all, as adults, we get in groups of people, and there are days in which, no, I don't I don't want to like everybody.
You have to be
And
respectful.
but you just be respectful, right?
Yes, respectful. Uh-huh.
But I'm going to tell you, this is where part of no. I have had I've had situations recently where the adult who is teaching our children are so disrespectful to the children, the parents, and the teacher.
Oh.
So my question becomes, so what are you modeling?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? And why do you still have a job? I'm serious. I do believe that bad teachers or teachers who no longer love what they're doing need to be on a performance improvement plan, and that KPIs need to be part of the plan. So if you got stuff that's not getting done, and if you're having so many of the same problems over and over again with more than a certain percentage of your children, we really need to evaluate that, you know?
I also think, and I'm gonna, before a bit plan would ever be administered to, I think that we need to make sure that there's real good mentorship. So programs for teachers and a support system, because sometimes you can have hard grades, you can have hard classes. So making sure that we have the support, making sure that we talk about self-care, because if you think about it, if you don't have self-care, what's going to happen?
Right.
What are you going to be? You're
You have
going to
no
have
option.
anger. You're going to have anger. You're going to have discontent. You're not going to enjoy your job. So some of it goes back to making sure that we're meeting our basic needs and working smarter and not harder, providing good mentorship for the teachers, and making sure that the teachers' workload is not so overburdened that they are spread so thin that they're skating on thin ice. So, and then what happens, I mean, I'm sure you know this too, because we have, both of us have children that are on the autism spectrum. So you think about our children even that are in distress. What
Yes.
happens when they're in distress? They ping. So they're already here. They ping to the top, and you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Well, they're already hit their threshold, and so you'll see them pinging all the time. So I think there's a lot of things that we needed to look at, mental health and that kind of thing as well.
And
But
it
I
does have
agree
a
with you,
tremendous impact.
and I do agree with you. If teachers are not doing their jobs, and that needs to happen, just like in any profession. That if people are not doing their jobs, then they need to have that as well.
Yep, I agree. So that's definitely a problem. And I do believe that it starts from home. I mean, this part starts from home. It is reinforced at school, though. So at home, if you cannot respect the differences between other people, and then become a good example to how to engage with that, then your children are going to follow your example and then turn around and get reinforced by bad behaviors that's in the classroom. And that's not necessarily by another child. That's by the other adults in the room. Because, like I said, they hear us. Even when people think that they're not listening, doing little
They're
jokers are
listening.
listening. And then
Yes.
they're like, did you see what Miss Jones said? She was like, I said no, right? And then and then they're like, and it's okay because she's the best teacher ever, and I'm gonna just follow her example. So that's why these things are really important, that we take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would agree.
Kristen said, what'd she say on Valentine's Day? It was all or none. So did that solve your problem? That's my question. Did it turn out that because now everybody starts, so first of all, I didn't bring cupcakes. I felt way too much empathy for you guys. I was like, if we put all 25
Oh
children
my
on a sugar
gosh.
rush.
Holy cow. So I'll just tell you, Valentine's Day, on a totally side note. So personally love Valentine's Day, like on a personal level. On a teacher level, there's a whole new level to that. So you have these parents that put like their names, and then you have to do the matching. No. So then it's challenging. So I have them all lined up. You got to hurry up and put them in. And then you have all of the candy and all of that. So figured out a system again, because it's working smarter, not harder, that I could get everything passed out in an assembly line, like within 45 minutes, take those little bags, staple them up and go ahead and go.
Oh, okay. Now I realize it. I remember. That's when our teachers used to do this. So people, okay, so this has been going on forever. This has been going on forever. Now, I'm not old as Methuselah, but I'm just saying this has been going on for a long period of time. But because I remember having the teachers having like they had these stash bags, and
Yeah.
so when there wasn't enough, they would
Yes,
pull
yes, you put them in. Yeah. So
pull out.
what I do, because the kids will never know. So we start at one end, and then another time they'll start at the other end, and so yeah, they'll end up getting okay. And then I'll check the other ends to make sure everything is filled in. But yeah,
Yeah, that's funny. So Krista says that they made stuff in class and she hates Valentine's Day parties.
yeah, that was the worst. I think that's the worst holiday. So I have to rush through it and figure out how to work smarter, not harder, to get through it.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I mean, I wouldn't like every time I go into the schools, I'm in the schools enough, right? A lot. And I go into the schools and I'm like, oh my gosh, I see like 4 or 5 trays of cupcakes going to 4 or 5 different classrooms. And I say to myself, oh Lord, I wish that I could pass like a pint of alcohol of your choice. So because what's about to happen is they're like, no, we cannot have that during lunch. I'll give it to you 30 minutes before we get ready to leave, right? Because then you just can't deal with it.
Right.
Okay, so now that we're getting ready to wrap it up. We just hang out here for a little bit. We don't hang out for long. We just hang out here for a little bit. So with all of us going back to school, and we recognize that the contradiction that we are talking about today is respect others' differences, but we don't do it when we're upset. That's a coping mechanism. Those are coping skills that we need to be able to provide to our children in order for them to be good about understanding how to actually be respectful of other people's differences. So what is your final thoughts? What are some of the things that you feel as though parents can do to help to resolve that contradiction of its own?
So I think I'm going to hit it from a teacher standpoint too. So having the parents and also educators work together to make sure that we are talking about the community honestly above self, because when we hold the community, just like you talked about with that boy, the community
Mm-hmm.
stepped up and they surrounded him. So think about what our world would be like if we would all step up for each other and surround each other with support and love instead of with the other and love and compassion. So that's my final thought on that.
Okay. So yeah, I agree. I think that I feel like we probably have to lean in more with because I own mine. I believe that we need to learn, and I will start first because I have been working on myself since the beginning of this pandemic for sure, is that I am learning to respond versus react.
Yes.
So if I could say one thing to any of the parents out there to maybe listening or watching a later on, is that she's right. What a beautiful world it would be if we could just get, bring back the humanity of it all, right? So my thing is that just learn how to listen, hear what's being said, take a minute. When I say take a beat, take a minute. What I think I heard you say was
Yes.
this, right?
Paraphrasing all the time. I
All the
wait
time, right?
till calm down,
So
pause,
take a deep breath.
take a deep breath.
What I heard you say was
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? Yes
Yes,
or no?
exactly. Asking
And
them.
then you say, okay, now let me respond to what I understand.
Yep.
And that by itself is going to help you to be respectful of the differences and show a very, very good example to your children on how to handle and deal with anything that may come up when it comes to children. So that
Okay, so I'm just
contradiction
gonna
can
give
go
you a
away.
round of applause for that as a kindergarten teacher, a round of applause, and then fireworks.
This is what we're going
Gotta
to
do
do.
And then if you're in my class, we can do it. We can do it. Yeah, we gotta do it.
We got to do it. We have to
Gotta do
use
it.
our kindergarten skills, my
Gotta
friends.
do
We
it.
got to use that.
Uh-huh.
So, all right, Christine. I did it.
Well, next time you get it, you did it right.
By next time. So again, we'll be back again, same time next week. But this has been a great time to sit there and talk about this. And I hope that everybody who's listening and watching us on the replay are actually able to get a little bit from it. Welcome back to school. And thank you again. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest in discussing a contradiction or would like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.